Previously, the storm that the group was sailing into turned out to be a lot stronger than expected. After a number of lightning strikes almost killed several people, sent a few more into the ocean, and did a number on the ship itself, Keelan ended up shrinking the ship and everyone on it so that they'd be safe within its bottle. Unless he and it got eaten by a sea monster, which probably wasn't all that likely unless the group used that escape too many times for the DM's tastes. Keelan then went for a swim into the storm and properly passed them by. The following day, the ship was dead in the water due to a complete lack of wind, so the forcibly conscripted crew worked on repairs while the group had some downtime. Taria did some painting, and then she convinced Keelan to cast Identify a few times on various items they'd found recently, so that she could try to pick up the spell herself. Sean started reading the runic book that she'd been magically granted the ability to understand, and she discovered that it talked about the history of Aurelian, Thalicros, and the seals. There were notes in the margins from various people who'd had the book over the centuries, which provided even more information, albeit some of it potentially biased. The book also included a map of Arendor, with runic patterns drawn all over it. After some discussion and a quick sending to Taria's mother about a location on the map she was familiar with, they realized that the markings seemed to be focused on areas where the veil between the planes was thin. One of the runic patterns was relatively close to being in their path, so they decided to sidetrack a little to visit it and see what exactly those areas were like. When they got there, they found themselves at a shallow atoll, with a sunken ship nearby that gave them all some pause. They decided that Taria would swim closer to the edge of the area, pulling Sean behind her on a floating disc, so that Sean could get a better look at things, magically speaking, before they made any decisions on how to proceed. Keelan borrowed Wisp so that he could watch through the owl otter's eyes as it flew above them. As they got close to the barrier of the atoll, both Sean and Taria's hands began to glow. Sean could see a faint something that wasn't quite magic, but seemed related, although she wasn't entirely certain how to interpret it. Then Taria decided she wanted to get closer and swam through the barrier. She immediately disappeared, as did her disc, and Sean was dumped in the water. Back on the ship, Keelan saw all that happened from Wisp's eyes and passed it along. A frustrated Zaya reached out to Taria to ask where she was and what had happened. Taria told her that she was in the other world, the one that Tornak had been trapped in when he died, the world filled with Shadowspawn. And that is where we left off.